Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to another episode of Learn to Reason. I'm your host, Josh, and I love to produce music on Reason so much that I want to share this love with you. Last episode, I gave you a brief overview of how to make a simple beat using Reason. Today, I want to show you how to use the Redrum drum computer, the most amazing, classic, vintage machine on Reason. This plugin has been there since the beginning, the dawn of time of Reason. I feel like I'm missing something though. Whoa, a hot cup of coffee just appeared in my hands. It's wonderful. Why don't you grab yourself a cup too and let's make some music. Alright y'all, I made my cursor green so you can see it a little bit better. Redrum drum computer. Let's select it on the pane that says Reason Devices right there. We'll click and drag it right over to where it says Add Track in our sequencer. Okay, here's the Redrum. Here's behind the Redrum. If you hit the Tab key on your keyboard, you can see behind it. And if I hit F6, I can full screen that. And I can reroute things. So see these different strips right here, 1 through 10. Those are your different channels on your drum machine. So let's hit Tab again. By default, as I showed you in the previous video, you can hit kick drum there, snare drum there, snare drum there, egg, tom 1, or 3 in this case, 3, 2, 1, closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, and a ride. And by default, when you load up Project Reason, it's always 120 BPM, or beats per minute, for this tempo, and time signature 4/4. I'm going to show you how to do a drum beat in 4/4, and then we're also going to do 3/4, which would be 3/4 notes per measure. Let's stick with 4/4 notes per measure right now, and let's come up with a simple hip-hop beat. Usually, it's simple enough. You got your coffee, by the way? Good. Come on. Saddle up. Let's go. I'm going to walk you through everything here. Top left is your master level for the entire machine. Okay? But you don't really need to mess with that because you can use that, your fader, for the master volume of your Redrum right on the mixer. So you can see that right here. Disco kit. That is the default. And each one of these channels has a different drum instrument. You can load them up however you want. So you can mute, solo, play it one by one, or click this button to just hear it, to play it for each one of these, okay? You can use these controls here, the arrows up and down, to select different samples. Once you're in a folder browsing different samples, you can do that. And I'll show you that right now. Click the little folder. You can browse different samples. So I can pick a different kick drum, but that's just within this folder of this kit. And I'll show that further in a second. So I just switched it to a different kick drum there. Okay. So say you want to take a kick drum, this first kick drum here. Say I want to route it through a compressor by itself without actually taking all of the different channels from this drum machine and routing it through that compressor. Route just the kick to a new mix channel. Right click on where the plugs go and route it to a new mix channel. Okay, now you have this new mix channel down here. You can show insert effects, click in there, add the effect of the M class compressor. Now when you click, you can see it going through on the audio meter, and it's routed correctly. And what this does is that you can see in the output, it goes to the master section. The master section, which is this device here. And you can see when you go to the mixer, you can see that it's made a new channel, but not on the sequencer. So this is just a mix channel. On the sequencer, it's still just showing the one channel, but on the mixer, it's showing both channels. Okay. Forget all that. All right, so let's make a simple beat. Simple hip-hop beat. So in your head, you can actually click it out. You can tap here, right here, for the tempo. So let's say I want like let's try to just beatbox it. So I'm clicking the mouse. Okay, so it's about 83. So now let's try to lay that down with kicks and snares. Okay, so you hit where it says the numbers down here on each drum channel. You can actually select it with the select button. And now I'm on this snare. Now I can put one in the 5 and the 13. Those are the upbeats. Now I can add some hi-hats over here. Some close ones. Alternating 16th notes. And then I can flip to the open hi-hat on that 15th right there. Now this is just 16 steps, which is just one measure. So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and 1 and a 2. So if I lay this down, it would just loop measure by measure, bar for bar with this same drum pattern. Let's say I want to switch it up. Before I lay it in the sequencer, I'd have to increase the steps. So here's your step count. So right now it's only 16. You got to do a little bit of mathematics. Sorry. 16 times 2, 32. So you can bump it up to 32. That's going to be 2 measures or 2 bars. Let's say I want to do 4 measures and 4 bars. Well, that's the maximum you can do. So 32 times 2 or 16 times 4, 64. Or you can hear it's going to run through those measures, but I haven't placed anything down yet. So let me go back to my kick drums. The 1, the 4, the 7, and the 11. The 1, the 4, the 7, and the 11. The 1, the 4, the 7. See, I'm just copying it over. And then I'm going to make my adjustments. So let me lay the snares back down there too, on the 5s and the 13. So I'm just adding some variations. Add the 14 on that last measure. Gotta continue the hi-hats. Still going with that pattern with the open 1 at the end there. But you can hear I did a little bit of variations with the kick drum. And I'm going to add another variation with the hi-hat here. So this little slider right here edits your step selector. So if I want to do the 1 through 16 steps, I have it here. If I want to go 17, 32, bump it up there, and so on. This is resolution, and so right now it's on 16th notes. Here's a shuffle button, which will shuffle your pattern. It adds some swing to it. So that's good for hip hop. This is your pan, so I can pan it to the right. That's just the kick drum. Or I can pan it to the left. Now, bass sounds and kick drums, usually you want to leave in the center channel, mono. Sometimes you have to hold down shift to get a 0, to get a fine-tuned value. Here's the drum volume level for each drum instrument. For each drum sound, these are the levels. This is the level knob for each drum sound. This is the velocity, so I can turn it up by going up to 0. Velocity to level. Now, if it's by default, it's on 40. This means it takes a little bit of velocity to get up. It gives you some leeway for pressure. if you're performing these sounds live on keyboard. Now, length is the length of the drum sound. Obviously, you can have it short. So short that it doesn't play at all. This is the Decay Gate. So right now it has you can see the slope. Right now it's not a harsh drop off for the decay. Now it's going to be harsh. Hear the difference? And pitch. You can affect the pitch of every drum sound in each channel. And the tone. So you can have dark tones, you can have bright tones, and that has its own velocity control as well. All right, let's add some more variations to the hi-hats. Oh, not there. So I'm gonna add it there. Oops. And now this selector over here is accent, so I can hard, medium, or soft. That's just the intensity of the drum hit. So if I have these 3 hi-hats really close together right here, I can make the middle one soft. That's going to make it sound more realistic because, you know, if you're really playing a drum set, you're not going to be playing it exactly at the same velocity, the same intensity, same pressure. Every single hit's so some are going to be softer, some are going to be harder. It's just naturally going to happen that way. All right, now I can add some variations to the drums. Let's add a snare roll. The one you want the roll to be on. There's a setting here called flam. Yes, it's called flam. You want to enable it by clicking the little the dot here to make it bright red right above your square hit. So you can hear how it had the flam. The flim-flam. And you can decrease or increase that. So let's mess around with it. Let's increase it. So, you know, it's kind of like ghost hits, ghost snares, snare rolls, whatever you want to call it. Okay. You know, in the second measure, I think I want to add a double snare hit right here, 13 and 16. Sounds good. Sounds like we need a crash. So let me show you how to browse for a different patch. So let's select this egg. We don't need the egg. Let's click the folder there. Let's find a crash. Okay, so this is the whatever the default folder is. Let's go up here where the folder icon is up here to select history of folders. We'll go to the factory sound bank. These are the sounds that are packed in with reason. Okay, so if you go to the Redrum drum kits, you have all different types of kits here, and then they also have a folder called exclusive drum sorted, organized by the category of drum. And we can hit cymbals. A crash is a type of cymbal. CR probably stands for a crash. Now another way of doing this is there's a search bar. You can actually just search. I could have just typed in the word crash or CR. That would have been another method. This is just one method. Equally viable methods. Whatever it takes. So let's put this crash on the 1. And let's increase the length. So it's actually, we want the crash to ring out, right? little bit longer there. Let's put up some different sounds here. Let's do a different kick drum. That crashes pan to the left. Do you see that? Okay, let's pan it to a little bit more towards the center, but keep it on the left a little bit. Let's go back to the bass drum. We're gonna want the same place I showed you. Redrum drum kits, exclusive drums, bass drum. You can use these arrows. Now that we're inside this folder, we can use these up and down arrows to just browse through this folder. Let's change the snare drum sound now. By the way, you can also, I can click and drag this exclusive drums over here to this. These are my favorite folders to browse through. Basically my favorites. The ones I use the most. So just click and drag that. Now I can just highlight that and have a shortcut right to it. It's beautiful. Great workflow. Let's pick a different snare drum. This kick drum doesn't sound heavy enough. Increase the length a little bit. Messing with the tone now. Alright, let's change these hats. Hi-hats. I'm gonna move the hi-hat to the right channel a little bit, along with the open one. You know, so if you have a closed and open hat, if you have a real drum set, that's going to be one hi-hat. So, you know, it would be a little bit weird if you had an open hat and a closed hat, different, pan to different sides of the channel. And one on the left channel, one on the right channel, because realistically, a real drum set, unless you're trying to go for something that's experimental, but realistically, it's going to be one hi-hat in one spot. You're either playing it open or you're playing it closed. Crash is a little loud. Let's turn that down a little bit. So part of this is mixing. You want your drum channel, your master drum channel, which incorporates all of those bass drums, snare drums, kick drum, hi-hats, cymbals, whatever you toms, whatever you're using on your V-drum. You want to mix it here first. You want everything to be good here before you start mixing it on the main mix. Because remember, this is all combined. Now if I want to separate it, so say I do want to separate this kick drum so I can get a little bit more oomph to it. So let's click tab, right click on the output of it, of just channel 1, where the kick drum is. And let's route it to a new mix channel. Okay. Click tab again. Show insert effects down here, this arrow here. Right click in this box here. Now we can start plugging in effects. Let's do, we're gonna do the EQ that comes with Reason, M-class equalizer. Okay. Now, it's kick drum. It's bass. So parameter 1. Let's enable that. Turn up the gain so you can see the curve, the slope. Okay. That's the middle, that's the mid-range. We don't need to bump that. We want to bump. Okay, so we want the lower range frequencies. Okay, the lower hertz. The lower hertz. So you can hear the bump right there. So if I put the middle of the slope around 85, you can hear it's got a pretty good bump to it. Too much. You don't want to boost frequencies too much. You know, typically not more than like 5 or so decibels. I'm also looking at my spectrum equalizer. You can see this here. It could also be actually using the EQ up here. Yeah, so it needs a little bit of a bump right here. Let me hold down Alt key and drag to the right. That will affect the size of the range of the Q slope. So it's going to narrow that slope a little bit. Just messing with that a little bit. Turn it down a little bit. Okay. Move that out of the way. Now let's add a compressor. Then this is just the bass drum. We're not affecting the other parts of the drum machine right now. So this is a great way to route your drum sounds. Now, there's another way of doing this is I could have just created 2 Redrum computers. One Redrum would have the kick drum. The other Redrum would have the snares and the hats and everything that's on a more of a higher frequency range. That's another way of doing it too. This is just an easier way of doing that. Okay, let's add a compressor. So right-click on your equalizer. If you want to chain it to a new device, select your new device, M-class compressor. So compression. Compression is a dynamic tool. It's a tool used to affect the dynamics of your sound. There's a dynamic range. You have the highest of noise and the lowest noise. And they're sitting together on that same soundscape. And the more compression that you apply, the more it compresses that soundscape so that the highs get a little lower and the lows get a little higher, and they become more of an equal field, an equal level. So you have to be careful with it. You don't want to over-compress things, but you also do want to compress. You need to compress things. We live in an age where everything is brick-walled. It's a terminology used for mastering where things are just basically over-compressed and just super loud. And if you listen to the radio, you can hear that. You can hear over the years how things have just become... the mastering style now is just to be louder. So you have to recognize that. You have to also make your tracks loud, but you have to know how to control your compression so that you're not throwing away all of your dynamic range, because it's very important. It makes your music really good. So let's mess around with compressing the kick drum. So you can see by default, this meter here is not a volume meter. It's showing how much it's compressing the sound right now. So it's compressing it about, it looks like it peaks at about 7 or so decibels, or -8. So you have your input. So that the louder you push the signal, or in this case the kick drum sound level into this compressor, the more it's going to compress it based on the settings. So let's put it at about 3. The threshold is the level at which the compressor starts to work. So if it hits a sound that reaches, right now it's negative around, let's say, 18 decibels. When it hits something hits negative 18 decibels and up, it's going to be affected by this compressor. So you can see if I turn it all the way down, it's -36. It's compressing by a lot. So we don't want it that much. Let's put that back up to 18, 19. The ratio is also affecting how much it's compressing. So the threshold and the ratio together affect how much the compressor is working. So if I turn it down, 1-to-1 being the lowest, and infinite being the highest, we can keep it around 3 or 4. I'm going to bump it up a little bit to 5, around 5. Now attack and release. Yeah, so attack is how soon you want the compressor to start working, and release is how long you want it to keep working. So you can also click adapt release, and that will almost in a way automate the release setting. And the attack here, the lower the millisecond, faster it's going to start working. So it's right now it's immediately. But if we want to preserve a little bit of that kick hit, then let's make the attack a little bit later. 60 milliseconds. So where it says Disco Kit RDK channel 1, this is the kick drum. So on the main mixer, we can see how much louder it is to the other drum sounds now. And now we can compress the rest of the drums. So let's add a compressor to the rest of the drums. Not too much. So I'm affecting the length of that hi-hat because it was starting to grate on me, as typically happens when you're making music. You know, you think something sounds okay at first, but as it keeps playing over and over again, it drills in your head and you realize, oh, I need to change that. So that's a completely typical thing in this process. And you should always trust your instincts. But later on, when you're done, go back and you listen to what you were working on, and it's stepping away for a little while will also color how you perceive it the next time you hear it. Because there is a redundancy to making music. There is and I'm sure other creative arts are like this as well, but you have to recognize that. You have to figure it out, how to best deal with that. So, start to hear the open hat now. Turning it up. Okay. Let's lay this down. Real quick, I'll show you a quick reverb using the master FX sends and returns. So here's the FX returns here. These can be applied to any of the mixer channels. So there's a plate and there's a room. Those are two settings for reverb. So we can enable it on just the rest of the drum sounds and leave the kick drum alone. We can apply it to the kick drum too. Maybe we can make so these levels here control how much plate, how much room, together how much reverb. So we'll turn it down, -20, maybe -23 for the kicks, but maybe a little bit more for the snares and the hats, so maybe like -20. Or a little bit. A little bit more room right there for the snares and the hats. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to get this drum track down into your sequencer, because right now it's not in there. So make sure you, depending on how many bars you have in your drum machine, so right now we did 64 steps, which is 4 measures or 4 bars. So let's get the left and right selectors for the loop, just selecting 4 bars, 1 through 4 right there. Now we go back to our drum machine, we'll right click on it, click copy pattern to track, go back to your sequencer, F7, and you'll see it right there. Hit F6, go back to the rack, make sure you disable enable pattern, so that it doesn't run the drum machine over top the sequencer. So right now, you can play your sequencer. Make sure you have enabled the loop down here, so it will loop back. Okay, now let's do a quick drum beat in 3/4 time. We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to change the time signature right down here. 3/4, 3/4 notes. That's what that means. Now you can see the sequencer timeline has changed. This is where the right selector was for the loop. And it's not at the end of the 4th measure anymore. It looks like it went up a couple steps there. Now it's on 4. Now, 3/4 notes, that means that it's taking out 4/16 notes. Okay? So let's go back down to our step selector. In fact, let's clear it. So we're going to clear the pattern. Right here, right click, clear pattern. Now, if it doesn't have these last 4/16 notes, because it's only 3/4 notes, what would that give you out of 16? Take away those 4, it gives you 12. So it's only gonna, if I run here, if I click run, let me re-enable that. You see that, and if I click 12 steps here, it's only gonna run the 12 steps. Now I can play the click track. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, we don't need a hard kick drum there. We can put the crash back in. I think a ride would have probably worked better. And the same concept applies as before. So if I want to add another measure right here, I can just double it. Double up to 12, make 24. When you do the 24 steps, it's going to add these 4 right here. It's not going to just give you 12 and then 12 on the next pane. So you got to count it out. Oops. Remember, it's just another 3 set of measures, so. Let's add another rod. And let's drop it down to the sequencer now. And you can see, let's disable it on the drum machine. But you can see that it actually filled out the 4 measures perfectly. You can double click on that clip, you can zoom in, you can see all of the hits. Here are the channels on the left. You can increase the tempo, hear how it sounds. A little too fast. How about really slow? Too slow. Okay. So thank you. That's it for today. Stay tuned for another episode. Looking forward to seeing you. Happy music making. Peace out. And don't forget to click that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to be updated on future videos from my channel. Be on the lookout before... I will be making a tutorial on how to make a lightsaber sound effect soon, to coincide with the release of that new Star Wars movie coming out. Check out my Patreon link in the description box. I will be posting exclusive content. Thank you.